We come now to a next very important topic. Wherever we are talking about investments and business over the border, if we are talking about international money transfers, always something comes up. Compliance, money laundering issues, regulations, and things like that. We have the honor today to have here one of the super cracks. He is the Global Director Compliances of Panasonic. He's a US citizen. Please give a hand to Elvis Amagai.
Thank you. So I think I'm excited to be able to share some thoughts here today, just to add to the conversation. It's probably nothing novel, nothing new, but I just want to have the opportunity to share some of this with you. And being able to support the Pakistani community today, this being your day. Like Stefan mentioned, I'm a lawyer for Panasonic. Obviously, we lawyers, we like disclaimers. So I'm making my own personal opinions here today, and not those of Panasonic. So nobody should hold Panasonic responsible for whatever I say. And I think there have been a lot of very interesting speakers. I've learned a lot myself. And if you just think about it, I think what I can take away from it so far is Pakistan is open for business, right? And again, being a U.S. lawyer licensed in the state of Texas, I just wanted to see, what are some of the numbers between the U.S. and Pakistan. You probably already noticed that Pakistan has the sixth largest is the sixth largest country in terms of the population, right? So that's a huge market. Right, and then Pakistan is also the 43rd largest economy in the world, right? So if you think about the 150 countries in the world, Pakistan is number 43. So it's a huge, huge economy, and there's a lot of opportunities for people to be able to invest. And the biggest trading partner for Pakistan is still the U.S. and then China, right? And the numbers that I see is the U.S.-Pakistan trade in 2018 was about $6.6 billion. That's a lot of money. So Pakistan is exporting a lot of things to the U.S., and the U.S. is also exporting a lot of things to Pakistan, and 2018 was about $2.9 billion. So there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of money around to be made, and I'm sure other countries, not just U.S. and China, are interested in going into Pakistan. And how they do that, what opportunities exist there. Some of the presentations that we saw earlier on today in the tourism, in the waste management, in the hotels, I think there's a lot that can be done. But before a company decides to enter into a new market, right, if you're not already existing there, there's a lot of due diligence that is done, right? We had a gentleman talk about insurance risk, and people can buy insurance. Again, the companies have to do the pre-entry due diligence and looking into, okay, if you think that money is to be made, what risk is involved, right? What form of entity do I need to set up in this country? How long is it going to take me to set up that entity? What is the processes? And so it's very important for the government to create a conducive environment where creating a business, creating a company is easy. Right, there's all kinds of metrics that you're going to see in terms of ease of doing business in certain countries. So you want to make sure that you are very high in that metric in terms of, if I decided to come into Pakistan tomorrow, I know exactly what the laws are, I know exactly what the regulations are, I know exactly what the cost of going into the country are, so I can easily make that decision. Because if you don't have that, then it makes it kind of harder. So, you also consider in terms of, do you need local partners to be able to do business there, or do you need to do it by yourself? And what we've seen, a lot of development now in many countries is requiring those local partners. We know the laws as they exist in the UAE, that you need a local partner to be able to do business. A lot of countries are also coming up with regulations like that, because that's how you want to transfer the technologies to the locals. You want the locals to actually benefit from the investment, and not just a foreign company coming and making money and then leaving, right? You want the locals to actually benefit. So if you're a company that you're looking to go into Pakistan, you can do your research in the beginning and really understand what those laws are, so you're making a decision that is kind of sound. And you can always rely on your embassy in the country because they have the relationships already. For example, the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan has information on their website in terms of, what are the processes, and you can actually partner with them. They already have, trusted vendors and partners that they work with that can help you hold your hand as you try to do business in Pakistan. So there's all that has to be looked at the front end. I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody today, but I'm sure one of the biggest risks that you would see with companies, especially U.S. companies trying to go into Pakistan, is the risk of corruption, right? Again, you can agree that it's true, you can say it's a lie, you can say it's not a lie, but even the current Prime Minister, part of his platform was running on combating transparency and anti-corruption. So I think it's a step in a good direction that he's acknowledging that it's a problem, and then he's been trying to do a lot of things about it, right? I think part of what he has done is he's even been trying to learn from other countries how he can combat corruption and make things transparent. And I understand that he's created an asset recovery unit that's based in the Prime Minister's office that's going to try to, look at where government properties or things have been stolen so they can recover them. And then there was also a law that he recently facilitated for whistleblowers, to protect whistleblowers. The US and other countries have such laws where you want to encourage people to report wrongdoing, right? You guys have probably heard about the US Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which is one of the major anti-corruption laws in the world that is run by the US. Part of that as well, the US Department of Justice and SEC have a whistleblower program where if you report something that leads to them enforcing and recovering money, you can get up to 30% of the award. I think it's similar to what the Prime Minister of Pakistan is doing, and say you can get up to 20% of the ill-gotten wealth, right? Because again, if it's a US company coming in, it's a UK company coming in, they are scared of these laws. The UK Bribery Act exists as well, which is, we call it FCPA on steroids, because it's actually stricter than the FCPA. So the government has to be creating the right environment for people to be able to come in. If you want your Cleveland clinic to come into Pakistan, right? Cleveland clinic with the affiliation to the US, they're not going to get themselves in anything that is going to get them into trouble with the US government, right? If you're trying to get your funding from the Standard Chartered Bank or from the Asian Development Bank, all of those financing facilities have requirements that they have to make sure that the money that they're giving out is transparent and it's going to use for the various projects. So the responsibility of the government and the people of Pakistan is to create this conducive environment so that the companies that are coming in, they don't feel like they're going to get into trouble, right? Again, like I said, you may believe that this is true or this is not true. Corruption is not something that is just for Pakistan. I mean, there's corruption in almost every country in the world. It's a challenge that every country in the world faces. Certain countries have it to a smaller degree, some of them have it to a larger degree, but we just all have to acknowledge that it is a problem. And if you really want to encourage business in your country, especially from companies that are US companies, you need to be able to show them that they are not going to get into trouble by investing their money in your country. US companies have been fined hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Because the US government felt that part of the business transactions that they did in certain countries, some of the money ended up in bribes, right? So again, this is a huge challenge. One of the biggest challenges that I think companies going into a new country have to try to overcome. So, and just generally speaking, I think the world itself is moving towards a lot more transparency. The World Bank is requiring that, the IMF is requiring that, and a lot of the pictures that we saw about kids that were getting certificates and being able to go to school, a lot of the development can be done in certain countries, in certain places in the country. If that money doesn't really go to that particular purpose, then there's really no need for it, right? And I do a lot of talk, especially to developing countries where they've been struggling with the developments. There's no schools, there's no roads, there's no hospitals. It doesn't mean that these countries don't have investment opportunities, but a lot of the investment comes and then ends up in the pockets of a few people, and you don't really see the benefit. So I guess my challenge or my part of my contribution to this, to the new Pakistan, is that I think the government is making a lot of strides, right, to create, improve transparency. We just need to keep on doing that, because that's how you're going to attract more investment and then create a better Pakistan for everyone. That's all I had to share with you today, and hope this was helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elvis. It was. It's always important to listen to that part as well, because it can easily get forgotten, and then you have a problem suddenly when it shows up somewhere.